Welcome to Therapedia's Social Pulse Resource Center. We're on a mission to help PTs learn the basics of social media and online marketing with expert, easy-to-follow lessons. In our last video, we talked about blogging, and today we're going to explain a little bit more in depth best practices when blogging. Recently, we launched our first ever PT Blog Awards, and we thought that there'd be no better way to show some best blogging practices than to use the blogs that you nominated as your favorites in the PT Blog Awards as an example. So in the last video, we talked about why you should be blogging, to establish yourself as a thought leader, showing that you're one of the leaders in your industry, and also very important for increasing your online visibility. So we covered the why. Next, we talked about what platforms are best to use, and we recommended that you use WordPress. Great customer support, it's free and easy to use, and we showed you how to easily get started with WordPress. You can sign up in just a couple of minutes and really just start blogging from there, and it's as simple as using a word processor. Finally, we showed you how and why you should be sharing with your social networks. It's easy, it's the click of a button, and you're able to broadcast these all out to show your followers your latest post and keep them engaged. So today we're going to continue on, and we're going to talk a bit about your content strategy. A lot of people aren't quite sure how to start blogging, what to be writing about, where to begin, and it can be a bit daunting at first, but if you take a look at some of the nominees in the PT Blog Awards, a lot of the blogs have a niche and an angle that they focus on. And that's not to say that you're limited to writing about just one thing, but sometimes it's easy to think about who you're writing to. So if you're, say, writing to endurance athletes, that'll make it a lot easier for you to come up with things to write about. If you are writing to perhaps other students and telling them what it's like to go through physical therapy school, that'll help you come up with things to write about. If you're focused on advocacy and you're going to let your readers know when laws about direct access are coming through legislation, then that's a great thing to focus on. Next, another thing to think about is establishing your voice, and this is sort of saying your tone. All of the bloggers in our PT Blog Awards, if you start reading their blogs for a while, you sort of feel like you almost know the person, even though you're just reading their words, but their voice and their tone comes through, their personality sort of. And whether this is you decide to have more of a humorous bent or you want to stay very clinical, it's up to you. You can think about how you want to portray your voice in your blog. The next thing to think about in your content strategy is a content calendar, and we would recommend you think about 6 months out. Now, it's not to say this is 100% set in stone, but to give yourself some guidelines ahead of time for potential topics to write about, whether it coincides with conferences, if it coincides with journals that are coming out, even holidays. It gives you an idea of topics to potentially write about, and if you find yourself lost for content to write, you can refer to your content calendar and think, okay, I'll be returning from the APTA's combined section meetings, and I know that I'll have a lot to write about after that. So a content calendar is a good way to keep track of what you should be posting when. So another thing to think about is management of your blog. Who's going to be writing? Is it just going to be you? If you feel that perhaps taking on a blog all by yourself to begin with is too much of a challenge, or you'd like to have different perspectives, then by all means consider having a team write. You'll look at some of the blogs that have been nominated, for instance, PT Think Tank, the Student Physical Therapist. Those are blogs that are team blogs. There are a number of contributors who all post regularly. That certainly helps share the burden of writing between a group. It shares different perspectives, and it does assure that there'll be more content regularly. Another thing to think about is guest writers. You'll notice some of our bloggers will have other guest PTs or other health and wellness practitioners write guest posts from time to time, and That's another great way to get more perspective on a topic, to engage more people. A guest writer might be a great way, particularly if they're another blogger, to have another person's fan base possibly find your blog. So thinking about management of your blog, whether it's a team or having an occasional guest writer, is a good way to help you get started and help you keep continual fresh content. And last but not least is to make time. We just mentioned the content calendar giving you an idea of what to write about, but making time is probably one of the most important things. All of the bloggers nominated in the PT Blog Award are very diligent, and it might be a thing to begin with that you know that Mondays at, say, lunchtime, 12 p.m., you have some free time and you just set aside 30 minutes every Monday to crank out a blog post. And eventually this will become second nature to you. And just putting that time aside is really important to get going, and eventually it'll just become second nature and it'll become part of your regular schedule, and it'll assure that you're getting your content out regularly. So now that you've considered what you're going to be writing about and how you're going to be managing your blog, another thing to think about is ways to enhance your blog with other things beyond just formal writing. Two of the categories in our PT Blog Awards are Best Use of Video and Best Use of Social Media. Video, we think, is terrific for PT. Sometimes it just writing is not the most illustrative way to explain what you're trying to demonstrate, and particularly with a lot of movement-based things, video is terrific. If you look at blogs in our PT Blog Award category, these bloggers, some have very nice high-quality video that they post regularly. Others have just things that they're recording, say with an iPhone, and just post, but it's really another great way to enhance what you're writing. If you consider a picture is worth 1,000 words, then a video is surely worth much more. And it's very simple now. If you watch our Social Post video on iPads, there's a number of free apps that you can simply just record, edit, and upload straight to your YouTube channel, your Facebook page, or your blog itself. And this is a great way to enhance your posts. It's one more outlet to have a video on YouTube to send people to your blog. It's one more great result in search results. Videos rank very high in search results. Another thing to think about is enhancing your blog posts with social media. Back here we showed you how to publish your blog out to social media, but there's also ways that you can use social media to enhance what you're doing. A great example of this would be the Solve PT and the DPT student tweet chats. These are once a week on Twitter, and there will be a blog. The administrators will post a topic on their blog, and then it's open to the Twitter community and anyone who wants to participate to join in the conversation, and then tag their tweets with one of these hashtags so that everyone knows what they're referring to. And that's a really good way to take a post and make it interactive. And that's really what you're trying to do with your blog post, is to engage an audience. So you can use social media to help enhance your writing and help start more of a conversation around what it is that you're writing. And last but not least, best practices is to measure. All of our bloggers in the PT Blog Awards are very aware of how many people are reading their blogs, and very good about engaging people in comments and keeping a dialogue going. So measuring the performance of your post is a good way. You can look at visits, comments, and shares, and this is really all coming down to finding out what your readers are interested in the most, and this will definitely give you ideas about what content to write. Taking all these into consideration, you know what your readers are most interested in, and it gives you ideas for content. If you notice that every time you post something about post-running injury, you get a lot of comments, a lot of shares, and more visits to your blog at that time, then you'll definitely know that this is something that your readers are interested in, and it's probably something that you want to write about more regularly. So there are a few more great tips and tricks for best blogging practices. If you have any questions, you can tweet them to us at Therapedia or leave them in the comments below. Make sure to visit the PT Blog Awards, the link below, to discover some great examples of blogging best practices. And we wish you happy blogging.